Billionaire discovers his former maid asleep at airport. What he does next is life-changing. Jake Thornton sprinted through the crowded terminal, his tailored suit a stark contrast to the hurried passengers around him. First-class lounges and luxury boutiques faded into the background as he dashed toward his gate, where a golden opportunity awaited. But then, amidst the chaos, something stopped him cold. There she was, Clara, his childhood maid, curled up on a worn bench, her once bright smile now obscured by the hard lines of life etched on her face. The sight tugged at his heart like a heavy anchor. Memories flooded back. Clara had once been a maternal figure, nurturing his dreams while sacrificing her own. Long nights spent in a worn-out chair, tending to her children after hours of back-breaking work, the same devotion he remembered when he was just a boy. Yet here she was, framed by the steel and glass of the bustling airport, lost and vulnerable. The guilt bubbled up inside him, an unsettling reminder of the world he had escaped, a world that Clara still inhabited. With a tight chest, Jake approached Clara. "Clara," he whispered, shaking her gently. As her eyes fluttered open, the recognition in their depths pierced through the noise of the airport. The gratitude that surfaced there felt like a warm embrace. "I want you to stay with me, just for a while. You don't have to be alone." At first, she hesitated, caught between disbelief and an overwhelming rush of emotions. But the spark of hope ignited something deep within her. Just as she nodded, Jake's phone buzzed repeatedly, pulling him into a flood of texts from his wealthy friends, questioning his sanity. "What are you doing, Jake?" they mocked. "You're going to ruin your reputation." The pressure began to seep into his bones like cold air from the jetway. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. In the weeks that followed, Jake resolved to face these stark economic disparities head-on. He founded a charitable foundation with Clara by his side, lifting families out of crisis and offering them a chance at hope. Their efforts became a beacon for the community, while he and Clara stood as living proof of resilience. Yet, the backlash from his social circle intensified, turning his friends into critics who deemed his actions reckless. Just when tangible progress began to unfold, tragedy struck. Jake lost someone incredibly close, throwing him into a chasm of grief that shook the very foundations of their mission. As Clara tried to offer comfort, Jake wrestled with questions of whether he was equipped to fight for justice, his own pain gnawing at him like a relentless tide. Would he retreat to the safe shores of affluence, or must he brave the storm for something greater? The silence weighed heavy, brimming with uncertainty. It was a moment that would define him and Clara if they could sustain the spark of hope in a world consuming their light. The days that followed felt like an endless cycle of heartache for Jake. Dreams of a brighter future now danced just out of reach. Always the planner, his mind raced with guilt and sorrow, drowning out any flickers of hope. Clara's unwavering support stood steadfast, but even she felt the weight of their mission dragging them down. "Jake, we can't let this defeat us," Clara urged, her voice a blend of warmth and stubborn resolve as they sat on the small patio of his penthouse. The city sprawled beneath them, alive and thriving, but all he could see was the shadow of loss looming over their newly formed foundation. "We need to keep moving forward for those families." With a heavy heart, he gazed into the sunset. The golden hues masked the turmoil inside him. "How do I do this without him? He believed in me, Clara. I thought I was doing something meaningful. Now it just feels hollow." Clara placed her hand on his, grounding him. "He wanted you to make a difference. This dream isn't lost. It's still here, waiting for you to breathe life into it." Her faith nudged him to spark the flames of determination. Slowly, he began to feel the possibility come alive again like the first hint of dawn after an agonizing night. But just as the optimism began to settle in, a message pinged on his phone, shattering the moment. "Jake, you have to pull back from this charity thing. You're losing touch with who you are," another wealthy friend admonished through the screen, as if hearing it out loud magnified the pressure threefold. The faces of those who once accepted him without question flashed through his mind. Doubt sprang forth, clawing at the edges of his resolve. Clara noticed the tension in his grip. "Hey," she said softly, "what if we take a step back and look at what we've accomplished so far? You've impacted lives, Jake. We both have." Her words anchored him, yet another reminder that they were in this together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, rays of light spread across the sky, casting a warm glow on the city below. Determined to forge ahead, Jake proposed a community event, a gathering to celebrate the resilience of those who had found hope through their foundation. Clara's eyes sparkled at the idea. "This is exactly the kind of energy we need. Let us put together something special." The planning began swiftly. They engaged local businesses and volunteers who, just like Jake and Clara, believed in a brighter tomorrow. As flyers were passed around and social media buzzed with excitement, Jake felt the anthem of hope rising through the community. But just as he thought he was finding his footing, an unexpected figure appeared on the scene: his former business partner, Alex, with an agenda that sent a chill down Jake's spine. "I need to speak with you, Jake," Alex insisted, with a smugness that reminded Jake of the old days filled with ambition and ruthlessness. What could Alex possibly want, especially now? Jake's heart raced as he braced himself for the conversation that could change everything once more. Would it deepen his commitment to Clara and their mission, or would it threaten to unravel the fragile threads of hope they had just begun to weave? As uncertainty loomed ahead, Jake realized this was the moment he'd been dreading. The choices he made now could either sink him deeper into despair or elevate him to the person he'd always aspired to be. With Clara by his side, would he stand strong against the tide, or would the past pull him under once more? Jake stood up, his body tense with confusion and apprehension as he faced Alex, who didn't seem fazed by the chill in the air. A mixture of nostalgia and regret washed over him. Alex had once been his closest ally, a partner in chasing dreams and climbing to the highest peaks of success. But now that very partnership felt like a haunting reminder of a life he was trying to reshape. "Jake, can we talk in private?" Alex asked, his tone smooth and persuasive, as if he were pitching a business idea rather than making a personal request. Clara shot Jake a concerned look, but he nodded, signaling for her to let him handle it. He took a deep breath and stepped aside, leading Alex a few paces away from the warmth of Clara's presence. Before he could say anything, Alex wasted no time. "I see what you're doing with this charity," he started, a hint of condescension creeping into his voice. "But you know as well as I do, it's not sustainable without backing. Have you thought about the kind of support you could get from me?" Jake felt a jolt of indignation. "Is that what you came here to talk about? Money?" Alex shrugged, his expression all too familiar. "Money is a tool, Jake. It's how the world works. You used to get it. Why waste your time on something that won't last?" The weight of those words hung in the space between them. Jake felt a swell of anger and frustration. "Because it matters," he replied, his voice rising. "It's not just about numbers in a ledger. It's about people's real lives. Something you wouldn't understand." Alex rolled his eyes. "Oh please, spare me the lecture. You're a businessman, not a saint. Just admit that you're in over your head." Jake's heart raced, not just from anger, but from the truth woven into Alex's words. There was part of him that feared he could be right. The nagging doubts gnawed at him, and for a moment, he felt exposed, his vulnerabilities laid bare. "I'm not losing myself," Jake said, trying to regain his composure. "I'm finding who I really am." "Finding yourself in a charity? Is that what you're calling it?" "You're lost, Jake, and it's painful to watch." Alex stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Look, I can help you revive your business. You could run the charity as a side project and be successful at both. You don't need to throw everything away to feel good about yourself. The temptation lingered in the air, shimmering like a mirage. Could he really have both? But the thought of compromising what he'd built with Clara left a bitter taste in his mouth. "Why should I trust you, Alex?" Jake finally asked, challenging the remnants of their past relationship. "Because I want you to succeed," Alex replied, his voice tinged with sincerity. "And deep down, you know that you need someone who knows the game. You can't win if you stay in this little bubble." Jake shook his head, his heart pounding. "I'm not playing games anymore. Not with people's lives. This matters more than profits." His defiance seemed to catch Alex off guard. For a brief moment, silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words. Jake felt Clara's presence like a lighthouse cutting through the storm. She believed in this mission. He couldn't betray that trust. Just as Jake turned back to walk away, Alex called after him, his tone shifting. "You might want to consider your options carefully, Jake. I have connections. You're going to need all the help you can get." Jake paused, the undercurrent of threat in Alex's voice sending chills down his spine. Would letting go of the past truly mean losing himself? Or was there a way to combine the two worlds he now struggled between? As he rejoined Clara, he noticed her brows knitted together in concern. He could read her feelings without a word. What did he want? She asked, her voice cautious. Jake took a deep breath. "He wants to partner again." Before he could finish, an excited commotion erupted nearby, drawing their attention. A group of former recipients of their foundation's support were arriving, laughter filling the air like music, ready to celebrate the event they'd organized, but beneath the surface joy. A nagging doubt lingered in Jake's mind about Alex's looming offer. Could he really trust himself to navigate this new path without losing the essence of who he was? The answer felt just beyond his grasp, but one thing was clear: he had to choose a side, and the stakes were higher than ever. As he prepared to greet the gathering crowd, he found himself yearning for clarity. In that moment, surrounded by the faces of hope and determination, Jake realized he needed to confront the shadows of his past. Could he truly withstand the pull of his old life while building something better with Clara? The stakes were rising, and time was running out. What had Alex really planned? Jake forced a smile as he stepped back into the warmth of the crowd, but the joy that filled the space felt hollow. Laughter and lively chatter swirled around him, but inside, his thoughts clashed like a storm. Clara, standing at the center of a group, exuded light. Her passion drew people in, and now was her moment to shine. "Jake!" Clara called, her face lighting up when their eyes met. "You won't believe who's here." Jake's stomach twisted as he followed her gaze to a familiar face. It was Sarah, a woman he hadn't seen in years since his late mother's house was sold. She had been a part of his family, a crucial piece of his childhood, and now there she was, smiling brightly, her hands wrapped around a bouquet of flowers. Memories crashed over him like waves: warm summers, laughter, and the wisdom she imparted. "Isn't she wonderful?" Clara's voice broke through his reverie. "I invited her. She's done so much for the community." Jake's heart swelled and then sank with guilt. He had lost touch with Sarah, just like so many others he once cared for. He was drawn to her, wanting to reconnect, but also fearful of the implications. Clara reached out for his arm, her eyes searching his. "Are you okay?" Yeah," he stammered, shaking off the weight of the earlier conversation with Alex. As Sarah approached, the joyful noise faded, and all that was left was the gentle thumping of his heart. "Jake! It's so good to see you!" she exclaimed, her voice carrying the comfort of home. "Sarah, hi." He forced a genuine smile, feeling warmth ultimately seep back into his chest. "It's been forever." "Yes, too long. I heard about your charity. I'm so proud of you." She glanced at Clara, radiating affection. "And a lovely partner you've found." "We're trying to make a difference," Clara chimed, her enthusiasm unmistakable. As the two women shared stories, Jake hung back, absorbing the moment. Clara's vibrant spirit mixed with Sarah's gentle wisdom felt like a soothing balm for his frayed consciousness. But as they chatted, Jake's thoughts wandered back to Alex's proposition. If he could bring Sarah into the fold, would it truly solidify their mission? Or was it just another chance to dilute the very essence of the life he was trying to create? Could he reconcile his past with this new calling? The sound of a microphone being tapped felt like a jolt, pulling him back. Clara was stepping toward the front, ready to address the crowd. A subtle excitement flickered through her. "Everyone," she began, her voice smooth and clear. "Thank you for coming today. This charity, it's not just a project for Jake and me. It's a lifeline for all of us." Jake's heart swelled with pride. She had a way of turning the most ordinary words into something electric. But just as he thought this, the doors swung open again, and a new group entered, this one unfamiliar but filled with energy. Jake's apprehension cranked higher, especially when he saw a figure among them. Tall, confident, the very embodiment of opportunity and risk. It was Alex, accompanied by a handful of well-dressed associates. The crowd shifted, curious eyes now turning toward this new arrival. Clara paused mid-sentence, her expression morphing from excitement to confusion. Jake's heart raced. What was Alex doing here? Had he followed through on his vague threats? In that moment, Jake felt the walls close in. Would Alex's presence shatter the fragile realization he'd come to embrace? Could he really push forward as Clara intended, or would the pull of his past drag him back into the shadows? Just then, Clara's eyes darted toward him, a question in them. He had to make a choice: to embrace the chaos that was about to unfold or to reclaim control over his future. Before Jake could decide, Alex strode up to them, a smooth grin on his face. "I heard there was a party. Hope I'm not interrupting anything too important." Jake clenched his jaw. The moment of truth had arrived. Could he affirm his commitment to this new path amidst growing threats? Or would he unravel before the very people he was trying to uplift? As voices buzzed around him, Jake prepared to confront the man who had haunted him for so long, but the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on his chest. What kind of legacy would he leave behind if he didn't make the right choice? Jake felt his pulse quicken as he met Alex's gaze. The confident smile on Alex's face was a mask for the predator he had come to know, and the very presence of him felt like a shadow at the edge of the light. Clara was oblivious to the tension brewing just beneath the surface. "Oh, Jake." Clara turned to Alex with an open tone. "Let me introduce you to my partner, Jake." "Partner, huh?" Alex's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Nice to meet you, Jake. Clara speaks highly of you." Jake nodded stiffly, trying to mask the simmering turmoil inside him. The weight of past grievances hung between them as palpable as fog, choking the air around him. Alex was there for something more than mere pleasantries. "Well, it seems the charity work has attracted a fair crowd," Alex continued, glancing around. "I can see why. Clara has a talent for bringing people together." "Thank you," Clara said brightly, her cheeks rosy with pride as she noticed the guests gathering for Jake's charity. "It's important to have support, especially in these times." "Support, right?" Jake shot a quick look at Sarah, who stood nearby, engrossed in a discussion with another group. He felt a fierce protectiveness welling up inside him for her and the community that had given him so much over the years. Suddenly, a loud laugh erupted from Alex's entourage, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. It was a sound that felt tasteless amidst the genuine air of the gathering. Jake's heart sank. He could sense the two worlds colliding: the one he was fighting for and the one Alex represented. Clara, ever the peacemaker, tried to steer the conversation. "Jake and I have been focusing on some exciting new projects," she said, her enthusiasm pouring into her words. We're hoping to expand our reach and help even more people. It would be incredible if you'd like to get involved, Alex. Jake froze at the suggestion. Did Clara not realize who she was talking to? Alex's fingers played idly with his drink as he considered the offer. The crowd shifted with a collective breath, waiting for a response. Thanks for the offer, Clara, Alex began slowly, but I'm not sure where I would fit in. I've had my hands full with other business ventures. You know how that goes. Jake wanted to shout, to tell Clara that this wasn't just another business, that it was personal, the lifeline for people who needed everything they could get. But anxiety twisted his tongue. The truth was there, clawing inside him, but he felt stuck, like a deer in headlights. Maybe, Alex continued, smirking, you should consider a donation instead. You know, keep it simple. Jake felt a rush of anger. It was a patronizing dismissal, a jab at their aspiring vision. Clara's expression fell slightly, and Jake couldn't bear the thought of Alex's cynical influence poisoning what they had worked so hard to build. Actually, we're looking for more than just money, Jake interjected, surprising even himself with the firmness of his tone. We're looking for integrity, for genuine involvement. We want real change, not just a charity badge. All eyes turned to him, a stunned silence sweeping across the crowd. Clara's eyebrows lifted, a flicker of surprise sparking in her eyes, while Alex's demeanor shifted, a glimmer of irritation crossing his face. Bold words, Alex replied, his voice low. You might want to think carefully about who you're challenging. Jake held his breath, bracing himself for a fight on this fragile ground. The stakes felt high, and every heartbeat echoed in his ears. Would he really stand his ground? Would Clara see him not just as her partner but as someone worthy of leading a movement? Just then, Sarah approached, a concerned expression on her face. Is everything all right here? Jake saw her inquiring glance and felt an unexpected surge of strength. For her, for Clara, for the community, it was time to find his voice. I think it's about to be, he said, sensing that this moment could define everything for him. As he prepared to make his stand, he realized that the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but it was undeniably his to claim. The air felt charged, electric, as the tension hung heavy. Could he truly confront the past that threatened to engulf them? Would he rise up for the people counting on him as the moment drew near? Jake could feel the spotlight on him, the weight of expectations pressing down like an anchor. Clara's eyes were wide, filled with a mixture of pride and surprise. Sarah stood at his side, concern etched across her features. This was his moment, but it was also a ticking clock, the kind that nobody likes to hear but knows is there, counting down. Jake, it's not just about integrity, Alex said, his voice smooth like silk but laced with menace. This is business. You don't just wish for change, you plan for it. You play the game, or you get left behind. Jake felt the knot in his stomach tighten. Here was Alex, a seasoned player in a ruthless world. How could he compete? But beneath that fear, something flickered, a determination he hadn't acknowledged before. He took a deep breath, making sure his voice was steady. Maybe you're right, Alex. But to me, this isn't a game. These are real lives we're talking about. We're fighting for people who don't have a seat at the table you're used to. It's not just profit for us, it's purpose. Jake pushed back, meeting Alex's gaze head-on. The air in the room thickened as onlookers exchanged glances. Clara's lips pressed together as she attempted to gauge the tension. Jake felt Sarah's hand brush against his arm, a silent offering of support, reminding him he wasn't alone in this fight. I have no interest in your purpose, Alex shot back, crossing his arms defiantly. I operate on results, and from what I see, you're not even close to achieving any. Your charity is just a drop in the ocean. A murmur rippled through the crowd, the reality of Jake's words and Alex's taunts settling like lead in his stomach. But he couldn't back down now. Not when so many were depending on him. Maybe we're just getting started, Jake said, his voice rising above the noise. Change doesn't happen overnight. It takes grit, and it takes heart. We may be a small operation, but I believe in what we're doing because it's not about the money. It's about being the difference for families like mine. Alex scoffed, but Jake could see the flicker of doubt behind his bravado. Clara stepped toward the two men, her own frustration now palpable. You both need to remember why we're here, she said, her voice firm yet hopeful. This charity isn't about ego. It's about our community, and that should unite us, not divide us. The energy shifted, and for a brief moment, Jake could sense the crowd leaning towards Clara's assertion. It was raw and real, a sight he craved to see more of in that room filled with opulence. He locked eyes with Sarah, and in that fleeting moment, he caught a glimpse of what was at stake, not just his ambitions, but the dreams of so many hopefuls counting on their voices to rise and be heard, but any hope was short-lived. Alex stepped forward, a smirk on his face that sent barbs of anger through Jake. You really think you can take this all on yourself? Alex challenged. What's next? Do you think everyone in this room, people with their own agendas, will simply fall in line behind you? Jake's heart raced, adrenaline flooding his veins. I'm not asking anyone to fall in line. I'm asking them to stand up for something better. In that moment, it felt like the air had snapped into focus. Words that had been swirling inside him now spilled forth, and doubt began to dissolve. Jake could see it in Clara's eyes. She believed in him. Sarah's steady presence reinforced his resolve. But just as Jake sensed a shift, a sharp whisper cut through the crowd. It's not just your project, is it, Clara? A new voice emerged, an unfamiliar figure stepping forward from behind Alex's entourage. A woman with piercing eyes, a tone that seemed to challenge everyone, had entered the arena. Jake turned, unable to comprehend the serious challenge that awaited them next. Who was she, and what did she know? As her words began to unfold, he felt a chill on the back of his neck. He realized he had only scratched the surface of not only his fight but of the dark world lurking just below the surface. Jake's pulse quickened again, hinting that this confrontation was only just beginning. Jake's eyes narrowed as he tried to gauge the woman's demeanor. Her confidence was unnerving. Everyone in the crowd turned their heads, whispers swirling like leaves on an autumn breeze. Clara's face was a mix of confusion and concern, and Jake could see Sarah grip her notebook tight, the knuckles turning white with tension. Who are you? Jake asked, his voice steady but tinged with curiosity. The woman stepped forward, her presence commanding the room. She had an air about her, as if she walked with the knowledge of the secrets buried in money and power. My name is Lila, she announced, her tone cool and deliberate. And I know exactly what's at stake here. This isn't just a matter of integrity or purpose, it's also about opportunity, who gets to seize it and who gets left behind. You're here to lecture us? Alex scoffed, rolling his eyes. This isn't a place for idealistic dreams. Lila's eyes flickered dangerously from Alex to Jake. Idealism doesn't make change happen, Alex. Hard choices do. And Jake, your efforts might be nobly intended, but they are naive if you believe you can rattle this system with sheer hope. Jake swallowed hard. Her words echoed his own fears, the very doubts he fought against. What do you know about our work? He shot back, his heartbeat quickening. You don't know what it's like for people without options. I know exactly how they feel, Lila responded, a hint of fierceness in her voice. I came from nothing. I slipped into the margins where societies tend to push those they don't wish to see. You think playing the good guy here is enough? For change to truly take root, you need leverage, alliances, and sometimes, a little ruthlessness. A wave of murmurs surged through the crowd, eyes darting between Lila and Jake. Clara's lips parted, uncovering her surprise, while Sarah's face reflected uncertainty. Was there truth in what Lila said? Was being principled enough to disrupt the system without understanding its intricacies, Jake took a step closer, refusing to back down. Your world might thrive on influence, but I'm not giving up on the people who deserve better. I won't let their plight become just another asset in your game. Lila tilted her head, studying him. You think passion is your greatest asset? It's just a start. The road ahead will require sacrifices you may not be willing to face. Are you ready for that? Suddenly, Jake felt the gravity of her words. What was he willing to risk? What lines would he cross to protect the dreams of the families depending on him? But just as he was about to respond, a loud bang from the far side of the room interrupted. Everyone jumped, startled. The crowd turned as security rushed in, eyes locked on an approaching figure. A tall man in a tailored suit, face chiseled and expression unreadable, walked in with purpose. He had an undeniable presence, and a hush fell over the crowd. Jake Morgan? The newcomer called out, his deep, confident voice slicing through the tension, bestowing an electric shock to the atmosphere. Jake took a deep breath, his heart pounding. Who was this man? What did he want? The air was thick with anticipation, and all eyes were on him. It was a game, and he was playing, but suddenly he realized he wasn't just stepping into a new chapter, he was emerging into a whole new story. What awaited him next? He could only wait and see, hoping that whatever came next would bring with it purpose, strength, and maybe the answers he desperately needed. The room seemed to shrink as the tall man took another step forward, eyes locked on Jake. Determination radiated from him, the kind that made you question if you were in the presence of a predator or an ally. Lila's steely demeanor faltered for a brief second, her surprise flickering like a candle in the wind before she regained her composure. Who sent you? Jake asked, his voice rising above the murmurs that enveloped them. Does it matter? The man replied, a slight smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. What matters is I have a proposition for you. Jake stole a glance at Clara and Sarah. Clara's brow was furrowed in concern, while Sarah was biting her lip, her eyes darting between Jake and the stranger. He took a step back, feeling the weight of their gazes on him. Proposition? Jake echoed, skepticism heavy on his tongue. I don't trust people who waltz in here unannounced, especially now. The man chuckled softly, brushing off Jake's suspicion. Understandable. But hear me out. My name is Max. I represent a foundation that could amplify your efforts, take them to a level you haven't even imagined. Doesn't he sound like charity? Alex interjected, his arms crossed defensively. Truthfully? Max said, uncrossing his arms and standing casually, yet firmly. It's not. It's about impact and return on investment. It's about aligning ourselves with your cause while ensuring it's profitable. This is the world we navigate, emotions don't pay the bills. Jake felt a swell of anger rising within him. You think this is some kind of game? You think we're looking for profit among the ruins of people's lives? Max's expression snapped serious. No, I think you're a guy with a big heart and a huge goal. But unless you make some hard decisions, you'll be stuck playing in the shallow end of this pool, he retorted. The crowd was tense, energy swirling like a storm brewing just out of sight. Jake could feel the weight of their eyes, pressing him to make a choice, to respond. What's your agenda? Jake demanded, drawing in a breath as his mind raced. I need to know what you really want. Max met his gaze without flinching. Power tends to push people aside, Jake. You're venturing into a world where allies can become your greatest asset and your greatest liability. I offer you the chance to gain influence over those who turn their backs on your cause. You could change lives, far more than you realize. Lila glanced sideways at Max, her usually firm expression now fraught with wariness. Did she know something Jake didn't? I'd rather stand for something that matters, Jake retorted, his voice edged with defiance. Max's lips curled into a thoughtful smile, as if Jake's challenge intrigued him rather than deterred him. Then join me and let us make sure that disagreement doesn't make you a casualty of the game. Otherwise, your noble intentions will fizzle out like a forgotten promise. Jake felt like he was standing on a precipice, teetering between principled ideals and making the impossible, life-altering decisions that could propel him forward. Suddenly, the air felt heavy. A new urgency enveloped them as the crowd began to buzz, sensing the weight of Jake's choice. "Think about it," Max suggested, his voice low yet persuasive, "because I can assure you, the clock is ticking, and the next move will matter more than you think." As he turned, the crowd shifted, eyes still glued to Jake. He felt like he was on the edge of all possibilities, staring into an uncertain future. What would it mean to play by this new set of rules? He was standing at a crossroads, each path fraught with its own consequences. But before he could even think about how to respond, Jake noticed Lila's gaze locked on something behind him, her expression suddenly tense as if she sensed a storm approaching. Before he could ask what she saw, the commotion of the crowd crescendoed again, and Jake realized this was not the end, it was merely the beginning. What looming shadow lurked just beyond sight? Jake's heart raced as he turned to follow Lila's gaze, only to see a group of men moving through the crowd. They were larger than average, their postures tense, as though they were searching for someone. The light above them flickered, slightly illuminating their dark, menacing clothes. The air was thick with anticipation. Lila stepped closer to Jake, her hand gripping his arm tightly. "We need to go now," she whispered urgently, her eyes darting between the men and the door. Clara and Sarah moved closer. "What do we do?" Clara asked, her voice trembling. She was trying to maintain her composure, but Jake could see the fear in her eyes. Jake felt a wave of desperation crash over him. He wanted to fight, to stand his ground against this looming threat, but the instinct to protect the ones he loved kicked in. "We stick together," he said, trying to project calm. "Let us move towards the back exit." As they maneuvered through the crowd, Jake could hear hushed voices, though their meanings were drowned out by the rising panic within him. The atmosphere throbbed with tension, and every instinct told him that their troubles were just starting. The men were still scanning the room, and Jake could feel their presence like shadows lurking just beyond the periphery. Each time he glanced back, he caught a glimmer of cold eyes assessing the gathering, searching, then moving again. The group of men was getting closer. "Do you think they're here for us?" Alex asked, his voice tinged with fear, close to breaking. Jake swallowed hard. "I don't know, but we can't stick around to find out." They pushed onward, each step feeling like a reluctant surrender to fate. He had to get them out. They finally reached a door leading outside into a narrow alleyway. The shadows of the asthmatic streetlights barely illuminated their escape path. As they pushed through, Jake took one last look back at the room, where Max was now speaking to one of the men, his expression unreadable. It felt like looking back at a trap, an unsettling secret that would soon be revealed. "Where are we going?" Sarah asked, her voice shaky yet determined as they huddled together just outside the building, trying to catch their breath. "There's a cafe down the block. We can regroup there and figure out our next steps," Jake said, glancing around for any sign of danger. "We can't let them corner us." They moved quickly, finding a space behind the cafe, hidden from view. But the sense of safety was short-lived. As they caught their breaths, the reality of their decision hit Jake like a wave. He couldn't shake the feeling that Max's proposition, while troubling, might have been their lifeline. What if we take his offer?" he said quietly, just loud enough for Lila to hear. "Are you serious?" Lila shot back, disbelief pooling in her eyes. "This is how you want to play it? Aligning with someone like him?" "I don't know, Lila," he replied, the words tasting bitter on his tongue. "But we can't keep running. We need power, and he might be our ticket." The group stared at him, shock mixed with contemplation. Unspoken thoughts wove between them, tearing at the fabric of camaraderie. Trust was fragile now, hanging by a thread. Just as they began to absorb what this new decision meant, a powerful shadow loomed closer, the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps echoing into the alley. Jake's breath caught in his throat as he turned to face an unexpected figure, one that could change everything again. "Jake," a voice called, both familiar and chilling. "I've been looking for you." The relentless weight of uncertainty settled upon him yet again. Who was it? And why had they come now? Jake's heart sank, panic seizing him as the familiar voice wrapped around him like a shroud. Emerging from the shadows was none other than his childhood rival, Marcus, the one person who seemed to embody every worry Jake had feared throughout this turbulent journey. "Marcus?" Jake managed, dread threading through his voice. Clara clutched his arm tighter as they all turned to face him. "What are you doing here?" "Thought I'd drop in," Marcus replied nonchalantly, his eyes scanning the group like a hawk searching for a vulnerable target. "But it seems I came at just the right time." He stepped closer, an unsettling grin creeping onto his face. "Looks like you found yourself in quite the mess, haven't you?" "Enough." Lila stepped forward, her fierce stance defiant. "You're not welcome here." Marcus let out a mocking laugh. The Charity's star, striking heroic poses while trying to save the world. Cute. Jake felt anger surging within him, a flame fanned by years of rivalry. "This isn't a game, Marcus. It's about real lives." "Oh, I know," Marcus leaned in, lowering his voice conspiratorially as if sharing a grand secret. "That's why I'm here. You're making a lot of noise, Jake. Noise that could catch the wrong kind of attention. You're stirring things up, and that's dangerous for someone like you. Why do you care?" Jake shot back, his patience wearing thin. "What's it to you?" "I care because I see you stumbling blindly into a world far bigger than you can handle," Marcus taunted, eyes glimmering with amusement. Jake clenched his fists. "I'd rather stumble forward than stand still while people suffer." Marcus's smirk faltered, a flicker of interest crossing his face. "You've chosen your path then, haven't you? But you'd better open your eyes, because those shadows of yours are coming. And they won't stop until they take everything from you." Before Jake could respond, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed from the cafe's entrance. "Jake!" Clara's voice pierced through the tension, urgency creeping into her tone. "We can't continue this here. We need to go now." Marcus stepped back, seemingly unfazed. "Run while you can. But remember, the real danger comes from the shadows you can't see yet." Without another word, Clara led them further down the alley, the sudden chaos of voices fading behind them like a distant storm. As they found refuge around the corner, the exhaustion of the moment settled like a cloak. They huddled together, managing to breathe again. "What just happened?" Sarah asked, her face paled with anxiety. "Marcus is right to some extent," Jake admitted, anguish lining his features. "I did draw attention, and not just the good kind." "We need to take all of this seriously," Lila suggested, her voice lower now. "The stakes are higher than we ever anticipated." "I thought I could stand in the light," Jake said, a wave of defeat washing over him. "But I'm just casting a bigger shadow." Clara stepped forward, her resolve shining brightly. "No, Jake. This isn't just about you. It's about every family depending on us. Don't let this fear dictate your choices. Remember why we started this." Jake looked into each of their eyes, Clara's steady gaze, Sarah's encouraging nod, and Lila's fierce determination. They didn't just believe in the mission, they believed in him. "What if we maneuver this differently?" he said, the wheels in his mind beginning to turn. "Instead of running or hiding, we take control of the narrative." Lila raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Go on, we reach out to the community. Let everyone know what's happening and invite them to stand with us. Our strength lies in numbers, not in secrecy. The more people involved, the more we can break down the walls that hold us back." Clara's eyes lit up. "Yes. We can create a wave of support that's impossible to ignore, a movement that demands change. Jake felt the thrill of purpose reigniting within him, a flame catching hold of a new direction. We'll mobilize everyone we can. This isn't about hiding from shadows, it's about shining light in every corner. Sarah stepped boldly to his side. We've got this. We'll make it work. As they regrouped, excitement replaced fear, hope replacing trepidation. The chaos of previous moments fell away, transformed into the resolve that had brought them together in the first place. In that alley, amidst the uncertainty that still loomed, Jake felt the gravity of their mission anchor him. This was the moment to redefine everything. With new determination etched on their faces, they pushed forward, ready to claim not just a path but a powerful movement that could shift the landscape they thought they knew. Because this time, they refused to be cast into the shadows. It was time to rise and meet the challenge head-on, a commitment to bravery, integrity, and the undeniable hope that could reshape destinies. And now, dear friends, this journey leads us to the end of one chapter and the bold beginning of another. But I need your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread this journey far and wide. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support, this is the moment to rally together. Don't wait not even one more second to share.